So I want to tell you guys about a very valuable lesson that I learned that has stuck with me forever. And I learned this being around people with a habit. So, to some of you, this might not be new, but some of you don't know this. I grew up in Seattle. I grew up in a little sub-city, like a neighborhood of Seattle called White Center. Rat City. It's a spot in like the southwest part of Seattle. And my specific neighborhood was pretty run down. I know most people don't think of bad neighborhoods when you think of Seattle, but a lot more crime and a lot more addiction and chaos goes on in Seattle than most people from the outside realize. And that's what my neighborhood was. It was low income, lots of drug and alcohol abuse, relatively high crime. And I got to be around some interesting characters. Now, when I became a teenager, got into my teenage years, I followed the footsteps of my two brothers and also went to work on the same roofing crew with my brothers and our dad. So we were all working on the same roofing crew. And anybody that knows construction, especially roofing, you guys will know, you can vouch for me that, especially back in the day, roofing was a wild trade. The people that you meet are a little rough around the edges, to put it mildly. And I worked with a lot of interesting characters. And I was able to sit back and watch their lives, watch the behavior, the things they talked about, what they'd gone through, and the everyday struggles they had. Same with my neighborhood. There was a lot of that. There was people that I watched with addiction. I watched the way they operate. I watched the way that they had to worship this addiction. And it taught me a valuable lesson, because throughout all of our lives, we know people that struggle with money. They either can't make enough money or they struggle with everything in that world. But when I'd watch these addicts, when I would sit back and I'd watch these addicts and think to myself, this guy hasn't worked in as long as I can remember. In fact, there was one conversation with a guy named Todd, specifically, that I had. Rest in peace, Todd. And Todd was spending, I think it was a little over $100 a day on his habit. I don't want to say what he was using because YouTube won't like that word. But he had about $100 a day habit, or a little over, something like that. It was a lot. To me, it was a lot. And I remember observing Todd. He was a booster. He would steal stuff and sell it to you, ask you what you wanted, and go get it. He'd just do this for everybody in the neighborhood. And I'd sit back and I'd watch him, Todd, and all these other people that I'd see in my neighborhood. These people didn't work at all. None of them worked. They didn't have jobs. Most of them had $30, $50 habits a day. Some had, like I said, $100 or more of a habit every day. And come hell or high water, by hook or by crook, whether they had to beg, borrow, or steal, they had that money 7 days a week. Without fail, they found a way. I remember one night, I had to have been around 16 years old. I was laying in bed. I had just come home from a girlfriend's place. Actually, you know what? I had to have been a little older. I was probably, when I was dating this girl, I was around 20 years old. So actually, I was a little older. I was probably around 20 when this thought was in my head. But I had come home from her place, and at that time I was parking my car on the street. And I saw that Todd guy, and we got to talking about this, and he had just come back from buying his stuff and everything. And I went to bed that night. It was probably midnight, and I'm laying in bed, just staring at the ceiling. And I'm kind of just thinking about this exact issue. I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm breaking my back on these roofs all day and this and that. And These addicts, they I don't know what they do. They do whatever they have to do to get their money. And I was doing this math in my head of like $100 a day times 7 days a week, 4 weeks in a month, 12 months, And I'm going, if somebody wants something bad enough, they'll find a way to get it. And the same goes even for dating. Like, this video is not about dating, but the same goes for dating. And this has always helped me in my life when it comes to dating or dealing with people in general, whether it be business or romance or anything. I would always think to myself, after dealing with these addicts and seeing these people and witnessing what real dedication looks like and what desire looks like, I remember thinking, if somebody wants to buy something, and they say they don't have the money, they don't want it that bad, because you can find the money, even if it's doing something you shouldn't be doing. And when I would meet girls and talk to girls and try to spit my game and get to know them or see them, I was quickly able, thanks to people like Todd, these addicts that I was around as a young man, I was quickly able to realize if somebody's into you, it's not that hard to put the work in. And I didn't buy much bullshit or excuses because I knew that if you want something, you're going to get it, come hell or high water. Same goes for relationships. I knew if somebody wanted to see me, they would find a way to see me. If I wanted to hang out with the girl or she supposedly wanted to hang out with me and an excuse arose, I didn't even get upset. I just knew that it was time to kind of move on. This was a waste of my time. And I really think being in this shitty neighborhood, being around all the addiction and crime and stuff, I really thank that, in a way, looking back now, for teaching me so many valuable lessons in life. And that was a big one. Throughout my life today, when I meet people that talk about wanting things or not being where they want to be, I get it. The economy matters, price of living matters, inflation matters, all that stuff matters. But I still have this hardened attitude in my mind towards anything I want or anything anyone else tells me they supposedly want. In my mind, I always have that attitude like these addicts used to have of, if you want it bad enough, you will find a way because you don't have a choice. You're going to do it or you're going to die trying, literally. Maybe even literally. It just always stuck with me. These addicts never worked. They never worked. Not one of these people in my neighborhood had a job at all. They roamed the streets at night like rats, like rodents. They were like zombies. But come hell or high water, 7 days a week, they found a way to get that money, to get their fix. Every single day, they had to do something to get it. If I could only apply that kind of a drive and discipline to being successful myself, as if your life literally depends on it, because I've seen these people that get sick when they don't get their fix, and it wasn't pretty, man. It's not pretty. I don't think those people would wish that on their worst enemy. Fear and pain are very good motivators. And I think I'd categorize the dope sickness with pain. But if there's any lesson that we could all draw from this, it's that if you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way to get it. And if you don't find yourself obsessing on finding a way to get it, you probably don't want it that bad. Not saying it to insult you. Just say, if you want something bad enough, or if somebody else wants you bad enough, they're going to find a way. They'll move mountains to make it work. Or they will literally maybe even die trying. Just keep that in mind. Maybe you guys can apply that to some element of your life.